Well, he was just outside that 10, Brett Nile, so he's got a little bit of work to do this weekend, but a great competitor and great to have him all the way from West Australia over here racing. Now, something that's a little bit different in the power to weight ratio, Jamie?
Just a little bit.
Some cars are coming out on track at the moment, but these aren't just your average go-kart.
No, they don't like us calling them go-karts. Yeah, so we have got the pleasure of having the Victoria Superkart Series here and going through the grid for this first Group 1 race. So these karts are all 125cc rotax, FR125 rotaxes. They're direct drive, they do have a centrifugal clutch, water-cooled, electric start around the 30 horsepower mark. So this is a round of the Victorian Series, and we've also got 3 Kiwis over this weekend that have been contesting the Australian Rotax Road Racing Championships. This is the second round of the Australian Championship, so there's a fair bit going on across this field. We have 3 categories of karts. Unfortunately, the 78 doesn't look like it's going to make a start. That's Doug Savage getting just pushed off into the side of the exit of pit lane by the looks of it. So the 78's not going to take any further part in this one. So we should have at least 27 karts out there. It'll be a separated start with the lights and the heavies with a couple of different groups. So we've got 3 different categories in amongst the 125 rotaxes: lights, heavies and super heavies for more generously proportioned drivers like me, Matt.
Sounds like we're actually at the bottle, that's...
So look, very, very different to sprint racing, where I've had a lot to do with that over the years, mainly over in New Zealand. I bumped into a mate of mine, Ryan Urban, down in the pits yesterday, walked past each other, we looked at, did the double take, and he went, Jamie? I went, Ryan? Yeah, so I haven't seen Ryan for probably 8 or 9 years, one of New Zealand's best. He's over here running 3 of the young Kiwis in there, and they're contesting the Australian Rotax National Series. Of which this is the second round, and one of the boys in the 90, which is Ryan's normal race number, Tyler Edney's actually qualified in the 3rd position. I'm pretty sure he's 2nd overall in the championship. So the first karts to the line will be our light category. So it's based on weight, driver and kart. The heavies obviously will be heavier than the light category. I'm not exactly sure of the weight breaks. And then we've got the super heavier class, again, allowing for the bigger guys and girls to be able to race against the weight category that they're similar to, because weight does make a lot of difference with these cars.
Well, Kapinti will get out the number 1 after the first 2 corners there, and the number 93 in this lightweight division, and he's going to continue on with the pace that they've set earlier. A little bit wide there. I did see a wheel just drop from one of our competitors. Looks like they might have held on to this one, but now, here we go. It's going to be the Max Heavy, and these super heavies are lined up in the background, and they get their race start underway, and they're already starting to push a little.
So the reason the separation is because they don't want the light guys getting... Some of the heavy guys are really, really super quick. So momentum is key, and sometimes that weight can be an advantage in this style of racing as opposed to sprint racing. So I think the best of the heavies, McIntyre, the current number 1, he actually qualified 6th overall. So they don't want the heavy guys getting amongst the lights and tearing their points up and vice versa. So that's why they have the grid separation through the field. So back to the head, and Edney back up into 2nd. Occupancy still out in front. So in qualifying, these guys were in the 129s. They were only 4 seconds slower than the TA2s at that stage of the day. They're 30 horsepower and 125cc.
Yeah, the power to weight ratio, I mean, it's not phenomenal, isn't it? But it's they definitely make it work for them. I think, you know, light, being able to take the corners at a very high speed as well. Like, look at the aggression as they come into this turn number 1. There is no brake. They barely lift off the accelerator.
That's a big pass from Edney. So that was the advantage of the draft. So with these road racing panels and the wings and fairings and that on them, it's all about the ability to draft. Oh, they're going to go side by side. It's good racing already.
Pereira in the 98 just before, he went over the ripple strip. That has got to be rough in these cars.
Do not want to be on the ripple strip in one of these karts, or any kart for that matter, because they have made some changes to some of the curbs around Winton Motor Raceway in the last couple of months, and they are very, very different and a lot bigger in some places. You definitely don't want to get on the curbs in this style of racing. So these karts are very, very different to the sprint categories. They're a lot longer wheelbase. Some of them are modified sprint chassis. Some of them are purpose-built, start from scratch chassis specifically for road racing. The fairings are a lot bigger for road racing, and obviously the circuits are a lot bigger, so they slow the steering down. The Ackerman, the Caster, very, very different setups to what I'm used to with sprint racing.
He's not going to get the run, though. That is not going to happen at this point. So our light's still out in front. We haven't seen any of our Maxes and our super heavies start to catch up to that lead back. I doubt we will see that. The speed's very, very similar from some of our front runners. Here we go. The lights pulls out the 93. It is this time. Yes. Occhipinti.
He's just done what Edney did to hit him on the previous lap. So we talked about it earlier on the day with qualifying. With this style of racing and the aero and the ability to draft, you don't necessarily want to be leading out of that last corner on the last lap. So at the moment, this is like a 100-mile-an-hour game of chess. They're just sizing each other up to see where one or the other is better, how good they are at drafting, how good they're able to be drafted, because that's one of the things. They can't disturb the air enough behind them, so you can actually get a run and a draft from probably 4 to 5 kart lengths back.
Opened up a tiny little gap here. It's not going to be enough. That is going to come together really quickly. But have a look.
Edney with a very different line. He closed right up.
Pereira now, though. He is starting to catch up onto the back of this one. It was pretty quick when it came to qualifying as well. Ended up not too far down, Pereira. I'm just having a look. He actually ended up, well, he's come out of the, I'm just having a look where he ended up. He was second fastest. So he had a shocking start.
Yeah, he didn't get the best of start. So Sanuja Pereira, he was alluding to in an earlier interview that he actually had a practice crash, got together with someone else, and the car wasn't quite 100%. So he's now starting to sort of come back forward and trying to be a part of this group. Halfway through, they're all just having a quick look over the shoulders to see where the next guy is. So Edney, can he get a run here and look for the pass? No, I think he's just content. He knows he's already been able to get by the 93, and likewise the 93 went by Edney on the previous lap. So this little game of chess just continues on here. Going back to the heavy boys, the first of the heavies is the number 1 of Colin McIntyre and the Woodgate chassis. So the 93 out in front, that's another Woodgate. So that's Russ Winton. So I'm thinking Woodgate's probably one of the locally made chassis, and that'll be a purpose-built one rather than a modified sprint one. And there will be some karts in amongst this that are probably the original wheelbase and the sprint configuration as well, just with the different fairings and that on them. Other than that, engine-wise, exactly the same engines as the FR125s in the sprint racing categories.
Just looking at the super heavies, Rod Clark looked like he's leading that in the number 27 at the moment as well. So he's holding out a few of those behind him. He's come out of 3rd position off that start too, Rod Clark. Oh, sorry, 5th position. So he's made it up 4 positions. So doing really well in the super heavies. But we head back to our lightweights now. It looks like back in front, the number 90 of Edney has got the move done again. But how long will he stay there for?
Well, he's just found another place to pass because it wasn't on the main straight down into 1 and 2 as Occhipinti had a sneaky little half look up the inside. What impresses me with these karts, with the first of them that we saw through the weekend with the 125s and the 250s to come, is how fast they are down through 1 and 2. With a touring car, you're on the brakes at about 60 metres to get the thing stopped and turned. Listen to this. There's no braking there. They just fire the thing through 1 and 2 as to how small they are and how much bigger this circuit is than a sprint circuit. Occhipinti back up the inside. Now back in 5th with Pereira, we were talking about him. He's just done the fastest lap of the race, and he's done it back to back over 2 laps, 1:29.5, and I'm pretty sure that's actually just about, if not faster than what they qualified. What did Occhipinti qualify at?
1:28.91.
Not quite. Okay, so it was in the 28s, but not far off qualifying pace.
I don't think they're going to be close enough. He is catching in each lap, unless these 3 guys come together, though.
Yeah, if they start having a battle like they're doing now, and then 4th and 5th, they're going to start closing that gap very, very shortly.
Well, we are on the 2nd last lap of this race as well. So the corners are starting to dwindle where they're going to get their opportunities. They're not going to have too many more straights to do it. So they've got to take them when they come up. But back in front, the 93 Occhipinti. Now a tiny little bit of a gap that may be advantageous in this final lap. That all goes away, though, with just a little bit of braking market difference.
Edney on the approach to 11 is very, very strong. Right, does he show his hand now? and try and get a little bit of a break, or is he happy enough to sit there? Is there a long enough run out of that final corner to get to there and get to the lead? I don't think we're going to know until the last lap. Edney looks pretty comfortable sitting where he is. And fourth and fifth, actually, is Pereira. One of them's dropped off. There were 5 in that lead group.
It's Veld, I think.
So Veld's had a moment somewhere. And
is the wing down on?
Yeah, Pereira, I saw that earlier on too. I thought that the rear wing, some of them run wings, some of them don't. Some of them run the rear wing uprights, and some of them don't. But for the majority, they're quite different. So they've definitely dropped off Veld. If that's him there in 5th, he's still on track, but he's had a moment, obviously, out there on that last lap. So last lap run, Edney, has he got anything for Okapinti? He's probably in the better position. Is he close enough? Okapinti's got his head down. He's actually got probably the biggest gap he's had during the race.
Well, we come down. 2 more right-handers left to go. So they come out of turn number 10. He's been super strong in turn 11, Edney.
Yeah.
Will he have a dive?
Okapinti had a look over his shoulder. Edney within a cart length, not quite as close. Little bit of it. He lost the rear and had some exit oversteer. Can he get a run? He got the curb. In behind him, down to the line. It's going to be close. Is Edney close enough? It's going to be close. And it is Okapinti by 0.03. 3/100ths of a second. It was probably half a cart length. Maybe 3 feet.
Something. It was pretty close actually over the finish line. Still got our heavies out there though to come across the finish line.
Edney did the fastest lap of the race on the last lap at a 29.21, and Okapinti went 29.25. So they set their fastest laps on the last lap. Heavy battle. So the one of McIntyre will take out the first of the heavies and 10th place overall. Had a good run to the line going there with the number 11 of Jonathan Twigden, running an Australian-made Arrow chassis. And for the super heavies, they're a little bit further back, 3 or 4 carts left to come. Should be the 55 of Cameron Austin, who's doing double duty this weekend, also racing in one of the 125 gearbox classes. Oh, actually, I think for the super heavies, that was very, very close at the line. Austin with the victory from Brancati, and there was 8/100ths of a second the difference between them for super heavy.
Well, here are your results for Group 1. Obviously, our light's going to be first across the line. Okapinti gets that win over Edney. That was a fantastic battle. All the way down to 38,000ths of a second, the difference across the finish line. And, of course, we worked through and we come across our heavies as well. And that was going to go to McIntyre over Twigden. There wasn't too much between them. And the super heavies, it was Austin who's got there over Brancati, and that was really, really close too. 8/100ths of a second. So fantastic racing putting on by our Rotax class here from the Supercars weekend at the High Tech Oils Super Series round number 5 at Winton Motor Raceway. Now, the breeze is starting to slow down just a fraction there. You can see that on the flags. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from this race. We've got to break it down, like you say, 3 different weight categories. They all start off in 3 different groups as well, so they're spread out. So forget about the overall finish. Let's have a look at the categories.
Something very, very different for us, but really cool to watch. And the race start was pretty cool. They were 3 wide in their approach down to 1. And there were some very, very close quarter exchanges with the lights guys up front, and then it was the heavies away as that middle group. And then behind them, about 15 metres back, was the super heavy class, just to give the class separation across the different weight categories.
Well, they weren't afraid to really throw these carts into the corners. Now, these two exchange positions a number of times. Okapinti, obviously, and Edney, they were just tussling it out back and forth. It was really Quattrocchi in the background, the number 51, just couldn't make an impact on that top 2 battle.
Yeah, and they passed each other a couple of times. They were both able to pass each other on the main straight. Edney actually picked up a pass for the lead, I think, on the run through maybe 3 and 4 on the approach to 5. There it was there. So he slipped up the inside of him there, but like to get to the finish in the checkered flag, it's the wrong side of the racetrack and probably too early in the lap to be able to do it. Because at the end, when Okapinti got into the front, he actually got a little bit of a gap in his head down, as they were still exchanging places, and Edney was just not quite able to close that gap. But here's the draft. You wouldn't have thought he had a chance here, but he pulled out really, really late and missed it by 3/100ths of a second, and it wasn't even half a cart length. It was less than that.
Very, very close finish from our carts in the rotax section. We've still got a couple more groups of them to come. Of course, the 125s and the 250 class coming your way later today. Not too far away, though, we do have the Australian XL Series as they come out for their third and final round of their Australian Championship here at Winton Motor Raceway. It's been a fantastic addition to the High-Tech All Super Series. We had a glimpse of them last year, but the XLs always put an exciting show on for all of our viewers and spectators. Let's head down to the pits, though, with Mel.
Hey, Ross, I'll quickly get your helmet off there. Fantastic win in race 1. That was pretty close, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Awesome racing. Enjoyed it.
So what's it like in one of these things around Winton?
It's pretty much a lot of fun, as you probably well remember from your karting days. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed that immensely.
Is there a rib protector under that race suit?
Probably.
We spoke about the protectors, didn't we? How they get through.